Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Auburn Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, March 12, 2019, now called to order at 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live by Local Access Programming. Is there anyone here in the audience tonight that is recording tonight's meeting? There being none, please rise and join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Richard?
Yes, sir.
You asked about the streaming. We're okay with that.
Sorry?
Yeah, you're streaming.
You're streaming it. Yeah, you're flying high.
At this time, I would like to remind the audience, applicants, town administration, and each of the planning board members to please refrain from asking questions in regards to all matters discussed this evening without first being granted my consent. First item on the agenda is a 7:05 public hearing. Well, we have an A&R at 104 South Street, Whiting Living Trust. Are you
Mr. Chairman, good evening.
applicant's representative, Mr. Broder?
Yes, Todd Broder from Fletcher Tilton. Just very briefly what you're looking at. 104 South Street is around 13 acres currently. We're looking to subdivide the back 8.92 acres and attach it to Lot 3 shown on your plan, which is 519 Washington Street. Just to orient you, that's the Patrick Motors existing dealership on Route 20. Parcel B would be 8.92 acres, and again would be made a part of Lot 3, and there's a note on the plan to that effect. So Parcel B would not be considered a separate building lot.
So this is the main parcel with that leg sticking out?
Correct.
And that's the piece that they're gonna
Yep.
divvy off to?
Parcel B. Sorry.
Make sure I'm clear. This is the parcel here. This is the back parcel that we're looking to separate. This here.
Okay,
It would
from
be
that line,
It would
from
be
the
attached
line-
here. Yep. Here, down, and here, back.
Okay, but not that piece that sticks out.
This is already existing.
Existing.
That's
That
the.
belongs to Patrick's?
Yep. NJ Realty
Okay,
Trust.
so you're taking the back of Whiting's property.
Correct. Yep, and there's a big wetland that runs through here. It's kind of a natural divide line. The house would remain there, and that'll be, just...
And
It's-
the entrance and frontage would be the same as it would be added to the existing parcel of Patrick?
Correct. And it's zoned residential, so the use would be limited back there unless there was some major change.
So you don't know what they plan to do with it?
We proposed something to ZBA and it didn't go well, so at the time, for the time being, it'll just be held. It creates some distance and some buffering for everybody, so it's not a bad thing. And it's really, I think, kind of unusable when if you look at the wetlands and the topography and how it lays out.
Do you have something that shows the existing frontage on Route 20 for Patrick?
It shows
Is that
it.
it right there?
It shows it.
That's the Patrick parcel right there, the whole piece.
This is right here, yep, and this
Okay.
is the
What's
frontage.
the frontage? Probably 3, 2,
How many feet?
yeah.
445, and there's a 54,
So
so
it's way more than adequate.
yeah.
No comments?
Nick?
None.
Scott?
I got a question. So that hammerhead lot in the back is becoming part of the front parcel, correct?
Correct.
So, and that is on Washington?
This is South Street right here.
This is Washington here,
Right, we're south.
over there.
So that's basically
Here.
a landlocked parcel of land.
This would be.
Well, it's not landlocked while it stays in Whiting's ownership, but it's landlocked if you separated it out and it didn't have that frontage,
Correct.
and it would be a non-buildable lot.
Correct.
No problem.
I'm good. Do we have a motion?
Public comment?
Any public comment on this? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Forgot a pen for the Mylar, I'll be right back. Want to sign that paper?
And I'm gonna stay and wait for the plan, but I'm gonna vacate my seat so you can move on if you want to. Thank you.
Stop searching for it.
Side these out. Take this one for somebody else at the same time. I think that one. You want to see Stone Street for labor, I think I'm here for that. Do that for
We have an A&R plan for 43 Stone Street. Is there anyone present? No.
All right, this is the plan. They are looking to carve out lot one. Make lot two individual lot with the current house. Have lot one carved out. Look like this. So this is currently one lot.
Okay, and they're gonna split it into 1 and 2.
It's 100
100
feet
feet,
frontage.
100 feet, 39,000 square feet. And this is residential B,
Yes.
or is it? Or is it over there? Sure it's residential B?
Yes.
So they want to create a hammerhead lot.
20,000 square foot lot, so they got more.
Plenty there, and almost twice that here.
Yeah, it's not a hammerhead.
No.
What is that?
Well, because they got the 400 feet of frontage. It looks like a hammerhead lot. It would be good if it was only 50 feet too much. Is there any public comment on this? 43 Stone Street. Steve? Yep. Scott? Do you have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the subdivision of 43 Stone Street.
Do we have a second? All those in favor? Aye, it is a vote. Somebody get the pen?
No, no.
Just right up. Either way, this one's even better. These two, sorry. Big signature.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Okay, we have a 7:05 PM public hearing. The applicant is ZPT Energy Solutions with a request for a site plan with a request for a site plan approval under section 9.4.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for the installation and operation of a large-scale ground-mounted photovoltaic facility on property at 1 Henshaw Street. This has been continued from January 22nd, 2019. Is the applicant present? He is.
Yes, sir.
Could you state your name and...
Yep. Good. For the record, Paul McLean, I'm with ZPT Energy. I'm here with Dave Kelly. He's with Meridian Associates, the designer for the project. If it pleases the board, we can have a quick recap of who ZPT is for the people in the public who may be attending for the first time. ZPT Energy is a joint venture between Zero Point Development and Protech Energy Solutions. We're a Worcester-based solar developer. We also build and maintain our installations. This project is at 1 Henshaw Street. We came before the board late last year. We've also been in front of the Conservation Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. We got conservation approval just before Christmas, and Zoning Board special use permit just before Thanksgiving, I think it was. And we've been under peer review for the site plan approval with Burton Engineering. There's been a variety of comments made and responded to, all to the satisfaction of Burton and town engineer Bill Coyle. Dave, I don't know if maybe you want to highlight some of the changes that took place in the plans, but the plans have since been sitting here, I think, for over a month because we missed the last meeting due to the snow event.
So at our David Kelly, Meridian Associates, at our last public hearing with you folks, there were still a handful of items that were outstanding with Mr. Bill Coyle. Those minor housekeeping issues have been addressed in the plans, and we also went out and performed additional test pits as he requested, so to confirm the soils located within the infiltration basins, as well as adding notes to the details of the infiltration basin to describe that the A soils and the B soils are to be removed below the location of the bottom of the basin and filled with Title V sand to, again, further ensure that these basins are full.
What were they, clay?
No, it was all loamy sand and gravelly. This was just being done as a extra...
Whereabouts were they on the site?
The,
Just point it out if you can.
where the basins,
Yep.
there's two right around here. There are a couple coming down the hill towards Leicester Street. And then there's a small one back here over near the light-sided wetland.
They're all marked on the drawings.
And they were witnessed by Burton Engineering as representing.
That's what I was gonna ask,
Yep.
if they were witnessed.
And I believe holistically, that's the changes that have happened since we were last here.
And Bill, is that okay with everything?
Yes.
Yes, Bill has signed off, and Burton has signed off as well.
Yeah.
Steve?
So the re-drilling that you did is in the locations of those test pits?
Correct.
I know before.
And-
Okay,
Yep, they're all in the bottom of the basins, they're shown on the updated drawings,
Okay.
and the profiles of those test pits are shown as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nick? Scott?
Give me a second. In the standpipes and the catch, and the imitation basins,
Yes.
who's gonna maintain keeping the grade clean?
That's all part of the maintenance that we're responsible for.
So how
And
often does somebody go up there?
During construction, it's once a week. Post-construction, it's after half-inch storms and biannually.
Is there any public comment on this solar facility at 1 Henshaw Street? Do we have a motion to approve?
Close the,
To close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're on next on with us again. I'm just gonna.
You gotta take them.
we read the file. Here I am.
We have a 7:10 public hearing. The applicant is ZPT Energy Solutions 2 LLC, a request for a site plan approval under section 3.1, 3.10.2.3 of the zoning bylaws for the use of a large-scale ground-mounted solar energy system on property located at 347 Rochdale Street, Auburn, Mass. Map 29, parcel 7. At this time, I will recuse myself as chairman, and John will be acting vice chairman and chair the meeting.
You wanna run through this one?
Sure.
We got a motion to open the hearing.
A motion to open the hearing?
Make a motion to open the hearing?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening again. So, Paul, again, for the record, it's Paul McLean. I'm with ZPT Energy Solutions, a joint venture between Zero Point Development and Protec Energy Solutions. We are a Worcester-based company who not only develops solar systems, but we also build them and maintain them. This project is located at 347 Rochdale. It's a 4 megawatt AC solar array on this vacant hilltop parcel. The parcel itself is comprised of about 45 acres. the extent of the disturbance on the property is more in line with about 26 acres, so the trees would be cleared on the hilltop. This array consists of 2 subarrays totaling approximately 15 acres of coverage on the 26. We were in front of Conservation a month ago. We'll be back in front of them tomorrow. We have, there's a small resource near the existing driveway that we'll be working around. I think there's a small section that's within the buffer zone, and the rest of it is all outside. We don't expect to have any issues at Conservation, and with any luck we may close that hearing out tomorrow. We were in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals for special permit last week, and we got that permit issued. A little bit, we like to tell the boards that we have a direct mailer campaign to our abutters that we do. So we sent letters out to all the abutters in hopes that we can connect with them in advance of meetings and not flush out matters that might be important to them that we can address easily. We were contacted by 5 different abutters. Mr. Contoy, I'm probably going to make these names badly represented, but Mr. Contoy, who is at the south corner there. I followed up with an email to him just explaining the sight line to him, and I think I got him satisfied that where his property line was in relation to the development of the array itself was created a great buffer between him and the property. I was also contacted by Mr. Booth-Hiller. He's at 355 Rochdale, essentially the parcel that I think it used to be a salvage lot. He was more interested in understanding if there was a way to attach to the project. And I had to disappoint him and say that it was too late for that to happen, and that was okay with him. Today I met with Mr. Brooks and a couple of the neighbors on Crowell Hill Road, 3 and 4 Crowell Hill Road. I think we got an angle of attack here for some modifications that will be necessary just to the south end of the array that I think I can get everybody satisfied with. In fact, the 2 parties that are on Crowell Hill Road were I don't think they ended up coming tonight, just for the very reason I think they're satisfied. But essentially the topography drops off in this direction, and so I'm going to make some modifications to this end of the array, probably lose these panels and maybe a couple on this end, and that I believe will satisfy. It creates, even though we've got over 50 feet of vegetative buffer still on our property, I think that downward facing slope through the winter when the foliage is gone, was a little too obvious, so we're gonna,
A lot of glare.
yeah, well, I think the panels themselves, you'll be kind of looking up at them on that
Side.
base. The rest of the array is off the back side of the slope. I'm going on and on here, but I'm here with Kevin McGarry. He's with Fuss & O'Neill, the design engineer for the project. I'd like Kevin to walk you through, some of the design details, and we can go from there with
Sure.
questions.
For the record, my name is Kevin McGarry. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I'm a project manager at Fuss & O'Neill. Paul hit on a lot of the high points here on this project. I'll kind of walk you through everything. So just so everybody's oriented, the color plans that I do have up here are essentially the plans that we have submitted. We've just put the image behind it and added color to aid in the presentation of the project. But this is Rochdale Street right here To the west of the property, to the north of the property is vacant land, including the former town landfill. To the east of the site is vacant land that's owned by the railroad. And then to the south is residential properties along Crowell Hill Road. Access from our site will be along an existing access road from Rochdale Street. That will also be the location of the interconnection. The existing gravel road will be widened and improved to accommodate the additional width needed for National Grid and for the fire department. Small portion of the existing driveway is currently paved, and we don't plan on touching any part of that pavement. And this is the work that Paul mentioned earlier that's in the buffer of the wetland. But as he mentioned, we're in front of conservation for that issue. The total property area, just so you guys have some numbers in your head, is 45.1 acres. The total area of clearing, which would be the entire sort of greenish color on the plan here, is 28.8. The total amount of grubbing, so we clear a large area, but we don't actually grub and disturb the whole area, which I'll explain a little bit more in more detail later, is 26.2 acres. And as Paul mentioned, the array, I think you said was 15 acres, but the total area inside our fence, which includes the detention basins, is about 22 acres, and it's about 833 feet from Rochdale Street to the entrance of our array, where we have our inverter pads and energy storage system. Two sub-arrays sort of within the project. It'll be inside of one fence. There's two detention basins. There's a detention basin here located near the entrance, and then a detention basin here in the southern part of the northern array. The interconnection, as I mentioned, will be from Rochdale. We will go overhead from a pole on the other side of Rochdale Street, overhead to a new pole on our side. We'll then go underground along the side of the pavement, up our gravel road to a National Grid utility pad. From that point, we'll then go overhead, up along our road, and then over to our inverter pads and energy storage system. Screening for the property is achieved through the large amounts of existing wooded areas that will remain after construction. We have buffers to our property lines, as well as there's existing vegetation off our site that provides screening. Stormwater, I can go into as much detail about stormwater as you guys would like, but in general, we delineated watersheds of where the stormwater goes off our site. And through the implementation of drainage swales and the detention basins, we're able to capture enough stormwater from our development to attenuate the peak flow to satisfy the requirements of Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. Groundwater recharge and treatment are achieved through the fact that we really do not have any impervious area on the site. Mass DEP does not consider the panels themselves to be impervious, because the panels have gaps in between them that allow both rainwater and sunlight to penetrate through to promote vegetation growth underneath the panels. So from a stormwater standpoint, whether the panels are there or not, it's just an open field. Erosion sediment controls will be deployed throughout construction, so we'll have perimeter controls all along the site to prevent sediment from migrating off the property. Sort of the general way that the site gets built is we'll first go in and the site will be completely cleared, but not grubbed, so there'll be no land disturbance at that point. Then we'll go in and we'll build the drainage portions of the project, so all the swales and the detention basins. And we'll only be grubbing in those areas. All the stump grindings and wood chips will be kept on site and used for erosion and sediment control as necessary. Once the drainage areas are then stabilized, that's where we can go upland to those areas and work to build the entire array, the remaining gravel roads, and other miscellaneous site improvements, the fencing, and things of that nature. The temporary erosion and sediment controls include silt fence, compost filter socks. We'll have a construction entrance, stone check dams, and erosion control blankets on some of our steeper slopes. We did receive a comment letter from Burton Engineering, which I've been on the phone with Burton. We're actually just about ready to resubmit our response to that. We don't see any major issues with any of Burton's comments, and we feel that we're going to be able to address them all. I spoke with Frank Picheri? Sure. I butcher names just like Paul does today, about a couple of comments that I needed some additional clarification on. But we feel we have a great plan moving forward to revise that. And as Paul said, in addition, we're going to be making some changes to this southern portion of the array as well, which will be reflected on that change when that comes in.
If you're gonna take the southern portion there, we just had your pen, and not put panels there, do you need to clear that?
No, we'll pull, clearing line will sort of all pull in with it. Yeah.
How far is the clearing line gonna pull in?
We'll have to rerun the Helios model that models all the shading, and by we, I mean CPT will rerun their Helios model. But I think as a rule of thumb, you can just say it'll pull in proportionately, you know, if it's this far now, when we pull it into the new, you know, new edge of the panels, it should stay that general amount. I think it's 40 or 50 feet off the panel, but I'd have to actually scale it off to get you that exact measurement.
And we want to just take a look where the road kind of travels the ridge here. And we just want to see if I can pull a little bit to the one side, and maybe I'll be able to pick up a few panels on the end of this side.
And take it from the south side?
Yeah, take it from the south side, put a few here, but we really gotta just look more closely at the topo there to make sure I'm staying on the high ground with the
This will all
roadway.
come up, and then we're going to look at if we can get rid of this drainage swell as well. We just got to go back and, look at all our drainage calculations again to see what affects what.
Why would you wanna get rid of the drainage swell?
So the drainage swale was required because we had a small portion of the property sort of drains off this way, and we had a couple different design points on the property, and we needed to divert some of the stormwater that naturally would have flowed this way to come out to this side, and then a lot of the stormwater that currently was flowing this way, we sent to the detention basin to attenuate the peak flows. We were kind of just moving the flows around a little bit. If we pull back our clearing, I just have to update the numbers to see if that affects, if we then result in no increase.
There's a little
to that particular design
wrap
point.
around on the grades there, so kind of the land folds
Most
in
of the-
all directions. So if the idea is if we remove the array on the downward side facing the neighbors, then we won't have any disturbance there, and we may be able to contain everything on the north side.
Most of the site drains over to the west or down to the two wetlands here. There were a couple small areas that were coming this way. But again, we will highlight, when we do our response letter to Burton, we'll address all their comments, and we'll include some language about some of these other changes that we've made, so that we'll bring that to their attention to make sure that they review that change as well.
Yeah, if you change the location of the road, you're gonna have to show that on a set of plans.
Oh, yep, absolutely.
We'll have to
Yep.
review that.
Absolutely. Yes, we'll be submitting a revised set of plans, a comment letter, and a stormwater report.
And the goal will
all
be
those
like
changes.
our response will cover the Burton matters. We'll have another section that addresses public comment both tonight through the board and the public, together with my individual meetings with the abutters. You know, so we'll have a section there that just addresses that.
But if any other questions you guys have, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions?
So you're not going to touch anything on, I don't know if this is south side,
So north is this way, so this would be west.
So it'd be
west.
the west
So you're not
down.
going to touch anything from that peak west?
Well, I don't know where the final clearing line will end up. I think our intent is to essentially keep the proposed features, like up here, the road is on the top of the ridge right now. If the clearing slides down the hill to the west a little bit, you know, the trees are 60, 80 feet tall. We're not going to slide down 60 to 80 feet in elevation. So the trees will still be able to screen.
But to answer your question more broadly, that's the goal. The goal is to take that western facing slope that the neighbors can look great at and just eliminate the arrays on that portion.
Right.
There'll be selective clearing just to manage the shading
Shadow.
over the array that sits on the other side.
Okay. And you're going to redo the calcs?
Yep.
The water
Oh yeah,
stuff?
we'll have to, yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see that before I
Yep.
make any more comments, just
I-
see how that's going to
I don't think we were expecting an approval tonight. We know we're going to be back, so.
Yeah, we'll make those changes and we have to get the response in front of you, you know, a week in advance of the 12th, I think, March 12th, probably the next meeting.
Yes.
And at that time, we think we'll have, you know, put hopefully all matters in check, but if not, we'll talk about that then.
No additional comment.
Nope, not this time.
On the southwest corner there where that it's all going to change, how far is the edge of that clearing to the nearest house? I mean, you show the Crowell Hill Road, but you don't really show the domiciles on there.
Do you guys booby trap this chair for the people who are presenting?
To make it more uncomfortable, but really keep you on that.
Keep them on your toes.
I swapped that when I got here. I had that one.
Oh, you swapped it? So this is the index plan. This is sheet GI 100 from the original plan set. So it shows where all these different houses are. Do you want the exact distance?
Yeah, do you want a
Because I
scale?
come prepared with my mini scale.
What's the scale on the plan?
This is a 200 scale. So what distance do you want to know?
The nearest house?
House to the panel?
Yeah.
As it's shown on the plan right now, I'm going to say 525 feet. When again, we'll be pulling that back. Approximately, that could end up being closer to 700 feet, would be my guess. Which a couple hundred feet of heavy vegetation.
In the summertime.
Yeah.
Probably isn't much there in the winter.
Correct, but this doesn't have any lights. I used to live in a very rural area, and I know my neighbor's house had a couple hundred feet of woods, and you could see his lights in the winter. But during the day, you'd have to kind of do one of these to like try to see where his house was. You get enough vegetation in there that should screen. These panels aren't high either. I think they're 8 or 10 feet tall on the back end. And there's a cross section of that in the plans as well.
So the house is on the right-hand side of the plan that you can see in the photo.
Deep?
Yeah, right next to your title block. The panels sort of face them.
But this is not a house. This is
It's BFI. Yeah.
I actually don't know. I believe it's. I mean, just looking at a plan, it looks like some
Is that
sort of
Hardscrabble Road right there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is
Yeah.
this is the rail line.
Yeah.
There's about 40 feet of elevation from the house to the site.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of grade change between the two. I'd have to look exactly what it is, but that sounds.
Yeah,
That sounds.
there's up to 70 feet in the,
I know we lit. Yeah, so that house is at about elevation 773. The top of our ridge is 845, so
Not helping
80,
your case.
80 feet of grade
yeah,
change.
80 feet.
Yeah, that's not helping your case. It makes it more visible from a lower. It'll stand out more when it's higher.
No,
So-
but the array is on the other side of the hill going down the other side. So to the butters that are on the west side of the property, they shouldn't see anything.
Yeah, because you're going to be trying to look up, and you're not looking that steep up. You're going to be looking up into heavy vegetation, heavy wooded area.
And on the east side is Hardscrabble Road with the industrial area
Yeah.
there.
Correct. Again, a mature tree is 60, 80 feet tall. So really the array, once it's cleared, it's sitting in a bowl as compared to the existing vegetation that's around it. This is the best way I can describe it. It'd be like trying to see inside at your neighbor's swimming pool. If the walls of the swimming pool were the trees and the bottom of the swimming pool was the array. I think it's a good way to think about it.
Really? Oh. Yeah. Any gentlemen, any more comments?
No.
Is there any public comment? Mr. Brooks?
I met with Paul today to look at and express some of my concerns, and one of the things when I went to the Board of Appeals meeting and I talked to him about it today was that I don't want it to be suggested that the trees on my property will be the screeners for their property. Because if I elect to cut them down, I can see a lot of what's going to be up there. And I have that option to cut them if I want. I've got like 60 acres that surround it, so there's a lot of spots where I can look at it, and he said that he would try to
Yeah, that,
alleviate my concerns, and we talked about the triangle down at the bottom, and we'll probably have to meet another time or two.
yeah,
before
you'll
we can-
see the you know, my conversation with Ron and driving around in his Gator there, or going up the hill, it was obvious when we drove along Four Crow, right along the sideline of Four Crow Hill, with, you know, right along this old, I guess it used to be a old right-of-way. You know, when we stood right here at the end where the properties all four corners come together, and I was like, well, okay, I want to be able to see the array right there, and I could turn and look and see the house. So I was like, okay, that's a no-brainer. We got to do something about that. And then we drove up and we took a closer look at this end of the array, specifically to Ron's comments, because at this end the land folds in all three directions, so it's kind of a crown. So I'm going to try to pull back the ends of these panels so that all we have left is what's facing east, going down the side of the hill. And I think that when he sees that, I think he'll be pleased.
Any other public comment? So a motion to continue?
Make a motion to continue.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
And that's March 12th, correct?
March 12th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, we'll make the changes and we'll distribute it and all. Okay. Oh, yeah, thanks. And when I resubmit, how many copies do I
Seven, three, full size.
I might email you that question. Yeah, forget it, the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We can't give you anything about this first if you don't have this. The bylaw, it's on a private. Bylaw says it's public. This one's, no, just this one. Private.
All right, we have a 7:10 public hearing. New applicant, Raymond and Molly Bonneville, a request for a special permit under section 5.3.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaws to create a hammerhead lot on property located at 23 Sunrise Ave, Auburn, Mass., map 8, parcel 12. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. Hearing is open. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Mr. Greg Bonneville is here joining me tonight. I'm Bruce Fitzbeck, the land surveyor for Burton Engineering. Mr. Bonneville has the property at 23 Sunrise Ave, at the very end of Sunrise Ave, which ends here. What we're proposing is to cut out an A&R lot of 60,000 square feet with the minimum 180 foot of frontage. The remaining portion of the road would give 60 feet of frontage, meaning for this to be a viable building lot, we would have to use the hammerhead regulation in town. In 2009, Mr. Bonneville was here before the commission, talking preliminarily with them, and they all agreed at that point unfortunately for me, he didn't pursue it at that point. So now I'm here before you, seeing what your pleasure is.
What happened in 2009?
He came before the commission with the same plan, but he didn't have a drawing with him. He
Right, 'cause I don't
preliminarily.
remember that being approved.
No, it
I know there
wasn't.
was probably have to extend the road and improve it and bring it up to town standards before
Right.
it would be,
We were gonna put 3 lots there. And I could extend the road and it would, that's the thing, but
If
it
it's-
would not have been, excuse me, it would not have had been if we cut this out and just make one out of it. Because I was gonna cut it here, I cut it here, I cut it here, and that's when they says they would have to extend the
let's
road.
extend the road all the way to
Right,
the end
yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
And
But this current Hammerhead lot that you're asking, where does the road, Sunrise Ave is not a public road.
Correct. It is not.
And I don't believe that we allow a Hammerhead lot to come off of
Private
a
road.
private road.
Well, that's what I'm wanting to hear from you folks, because we've got the zoning determination that said that he could do it with the A&R on this road, provided that it met the regulations. And I wasn't sure if the Hammerhead regulations, when it said an accepted road, if they were referring to strictly subdivision accepted roads, or if you can also use a Hammerhead with an A&R lot. Because if you're doing Hammerheads with A&R lots, not all the roads in town would be available to do it on, because they're not all town accepted roads. Some of the more ancient roads.
Yeah, those that weren't on a town accepted
Right.
road would
Right.
not be allowed.
Right, the road is maintained by the town.
Right, but that doesn't make it a public road. What is your interpretation? Do you have anything there, Adam?
Yeah, I interpret it as because it's not a public way, it's not an accepted way, that it doesn't fit within the Hammerhead bylaw, and that's also the opinion of the town engineer, which you have in your packets.
And if you were gonna, is all of Sunrise not public? Is it all private from
Yes.
Stafford Street? It's all private.
yeah, it turns
So
into
you-
Auburn almost 100 feet in.
In.
You drive in 100 feet and it turns into
It's
Auburn.
into Auburn. Because I remember some other things coming up, whether it was you or some other people, and whoever was gonna do it was gonna have to improve the road all the way to back to the where it started in Auburn, which
That
would
was a
then become-
development that came
That was
before
gonna-
that, and
It was
he,
gonna be costly to do
yeah,
it.
oh boy. He said he was gonna do it after he did everything, he sold everything, and the town never pursued him to do anything with the road.
Yeah, he wouldn't. I mean, it's not us not wanting to let you do it, it's that the bylaw says that it's not allowed. You know, and it's, and
We understand it meets some standards, and it doesn't meet others.
It means all except for that one requirement.
That one.
And I'm wondering if it would be possible to go before zoning board of appeals and see if we can get a waiver on that one.
you could try.
Yeah. Okay.
And- Because, did you talk to Bill Coyle about this?
Yeah.
And what was Bill's opinion?
I have a copy here. He said Hammerhead lots must have a 50-foot of frontage on and accept the town road. Sunrise is not and accept the town road, it is a private road, so he recommended disapproval of the special permit. So,
Well, the other alternative that we had talked about, is I'm leery of even trying to pursue the waiver because I don't know if we get it, is potentially putting up a cul-de-sac in, which would allow town plow trucks to turn around. and
See, you could
then-
put the cul-de-sac,
and then get the
but then,
frontage.
which would give you, probably you could front your 3 lots on it and make, but
That's what he
then
said.
you'd have to update the road, I think. I'm not sure what Mr. Coyle would say, but it would be whatever he did say, that you'd have to update the road from the Auburn part to the cul-de-sac.
What do you mean?
Even-
You would have to update the road, the current section of Sunrise.
The whole
where
road?
it began in Auburn, yes, probably from where it began.
From the Auburn line.
From the Auburn line up to that cul-de-sac and inclusive of it. He can ask, or you can call him and ask him too. You've been welcome to go ask him.
yeah, I don't know what he would say, but you can find out.
So I would have to pave the road from there to there?
you'd have to bring the road up to town standards.
They're talking paving, drainage, the whole deal.
Oh, that's what you guys wanted at the beginning when I was doing 3. But I was approved by the board for Hammett, just this. In 2009, I was approved for this. And they said that there wouldn't be a problem, but the only thing is I had to go get a plan. And I never got the plan because...
You know, it
didn't
may
want-
have been, but I've been on the
Yeah.
board for 30 some odd years, and I don't recall that we allowed that. And there's been a few different things that have come for for Sunrise, but they've all gotten to that issue that it wasn't a public road or and it wasn't approved. And that whoever was gonna do it, it was too costly because they had to upgrade so much of the road just to get where they were gonna go. But, you can...
But since then, we allowed one. We allowed one in 2010. We went, it got cut off. You can look at it. It got cut off. What number is that? 14, 16, Sunrise? And it got cut out. He sold
You
his
had
house.
it? You own it?
No, my neighbor. And he's only, 150 feet away from me. So that's why I said that I'll just wait till the time comes when I do need to do this and have a family member move in. And that's what this was for. It was for my daughter. So I was
Well,
under
if
the
you were gonna
impression that I
get
could
the
still...
Hammerhead lot, and it was granted and it was on the approved road, you wouldn't be restricted to who you could let live there. You could have anybody there.
Right.
I mean, if you want to talk before the Board of Appeals and see if they'll give you some variance or something from, I'm not sure how that would work, because there's 7 or 8, 9 conditions in order to get a Hammerhead lot.
There's only one that we
And
don't comply with.
this is the only one
This
that
is the
you're
only
not.
one, yeah.
I mean, you got a gigantic lot there, and
I only want to make one lot out of it. That's all.
well, when a Hammerhead is granted, it's deemed that it's not subdividable further.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Is that a problem? What? Leaving it as one.
Oh, no.
parcel?
No.
An argument that helps you.
It's now you own that frontage that goes all along.
This is my house right here.
Yeah.
My primary residence.
Now, do you own?
From here, right to here.
Okay, so your 50 feet would be right on
Yeah,
that
there's
little...
40 here and another 20 here. So there's actually 60 feet.
So that would be
What are we saying? If he doesn't subdivide, he can run a driveway in from the end of the new house? That'd be my question.
What was that, I'm sorry?
If you don't subdivide, you leave it all one lot, is there a law against putting another house on the same lot? I don't know.
he'd
You
subdivide,
can't- the law
you'd
is you can't put another
subdivide,
house in there.
you'd subdivide to get your existing house number 23, and then have this other big lot too. That would be a subdivision, and your entrance would be, what you're saying is this
40.
frontage here, 20 and 40 feet. Because I think you can do, like vertical frontage. So usually it's what's on one corner, but I think you might be able to count that. The building inspector could see whether or not, that might count for your frontage to get in. Or you could,
It's not a town road, so.
but it's not a town road. So if they can get a waiver from, or a variance from the zoning board, then it would, then be, you get the waiver, then we'll address it again at that time.
So if we did cut this out with an A&R, we have a non-buildable lot here, unless we did something with the road. Is what
If you just leave that, if you cut it out and leave it as such, if you create an A&R like that, not asking for the lot, then you've created a non-buildable lot, and it, because it doesn't have enough frontage to be
Right.
considered
Right.
as a lot. So it's not really landlocked, but it almost is.
No, it has an entrance.
You got that entrance right there. You should check with the building inspector. You see how you got the 20 feet coming across vertical, and then it drops down? Just see if that can be considered as 60 feet of frontage. If both of those angles and the dimension that's with them can be considered frontage, because you'd need 50 if the zoning board gives you a variance and then you apply, you'll need 50 feet for the hammerhead. So, and you only can show 40 on the biggest dimension.
It's our understanding that
But it's,
the total
you're not
is 60.
counting this? Because that is on the property side.
It is frontage. I just want to make sure.
That is here.
And you
And
should
that
make
is
sure,
here.
because I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it has to be, it's only on one plane that they'll count the frontage. And, because it'd be like a house on a corner of a street. It goes down, the lot goes down 100 feet on each corner. You don't say you got 200 feet frontage.
Right.
You know, you got to pick your main
One's a
entrance,
side
and then
yard, right.
you'd have your frontage on whichever one that was.
Okay.
Nice big lot.
It's nice up there.
It is.
But we are the forgotten ones. We're out in the boonies.
So that's my suggestion is, Steve, do you have any questions? Anything to add, Nick? Scott?
No, I mean, just that I really don't object to this at all, but for that requirement, I think ZBA is...
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I
Is
don't
this something
object.
that the planning board can overrule or approve? You guys can't approve it
No,
just
it has
because...
to, it has,
it has
it's
to
one of the
be-
rules in the bylaw, and section of the bylaw, and it would have to be, have a, you know...
Get ZBA approval to do it.
like a
What does that
formal-
consist of?
They would waive that section of the regulations if they're allowed to do so.
They would look at the plan, just like you presented it to us,
Okay.
and you would tell them you were looking for relief, whatever, a hardship, because you don't want to have to pave the whole road to go all the way up there, and whatever it was, or whatever you want to say. And then you would see if they granted you that variance or relief.
Because he still has the 100 here.
If they do, you just come back for us and
Yeah.
present the same thing.
Relocates his driveway like this.
Okay, so that's the only thing that's stopping us?
At the moment, yes. That is the only thing, yeah.
Now, if you had 100 feet of frontage with it, then
Yeah. Yeah.
you could just, it's just another lot on Sunrise.
Yeah, but you can create the 100 feet of frontage.
Yeah, you could create the 100 feet of frontage by extending down to make 100 feet of front. But I'm not even sure if you're in a...
But then if I was
If you
to do
did-
that, I know what is sell a lot, put the road in, sell another lot. I'd have to make it huge, big. I'd have to cut it, then I could cut it up, right? Make a subdivision out of it?
But I think, what is that residence? Is that R or
R.
RC? So that's the maximum lot size, 60,000 square feet with 180 feet of frontage. So
Correct.
you'd at least have to go down roughly 180 to get the one big lot. And then if you wanted to go down further, you'd make 3. You have neighbors. But and
I don't
it's
want
not-
that.
It's not, again, I don't think Bill will be in favor unless, again, you gotta remember, you'd have to go back to where the Auburn line is, and that would probably be, you would know, John, real costly.
Depends how
But-
many feet it is.
Depends on how many feet and what you'd have to do.
Okay.
About
40 feet wide.
quarter mile in, I would say, from Stafford Street or so.
Yeah, it's about 1,400 feet.
It might be worth looking at it. Talk to Bill and
I know,
just
but
see
I
what he
still want to
says.
stay up there. That's God's country right there. It's close to heaven I'm going to get. And it's really, really beautiful up there. There's deer up there. There's all kinds of God's green creations in there. I don't want to ruin it. Like I says, I live here. I just want to put one here for my daughter. That's it.
So then you'd,
It's what it looks good like that. You know what I mean? It wouldn't look good if I cut it all up and put too many homes there. I just don't want to do that. I guess we'll have to go back to
Go to the ZBA.
satisfy that. To satisfy that right there.
go to the ZBA, check with that 20 foot and 40 feet to make sure all of it can be counted as frontage. because if not, then you'd be looking for another variance. You'd have 40, and you'd be looking for 10 more feet to get the minimum up to a hammerhead, and I'm not
I
sure
was
that
told,
they-
I was told that it was okay. All you gotta do is worry about, the hammerhead lot. And at that point, I says, well, if I have an entrance in there, can I just turn this whole thing into one development right from that right there? I would not have to, hoping that I wouldn't have to extend the road. Then I thought again, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rip my house out of here, and then I'll turn the whole thing into a development. And the more I thought about it, it just kept going. I had to keep going the other way of making it
Now, when you
into
read
something that I don't want it to be.
When you read the hammerhead lot provision, there was an intent for it. I mean, it was basically, when it first was created, it was a long, skinny, 50-foot entrance up into a flared back. That was the head of the hammer. And, you know, since we've allowed some that aren't exactly that, but, you know, I don't think anybody would have opposition if that was waived and they were gonna make it a hammerhead lot. Because if you had 180 feet of frontage on a road in front of it, you could just call it one big lot. So,
And
you
then-
just, well, for the hammerhead requirement, it has that stipulation that it be on a public way, approved town road.
Okay.
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 Very good. You gonna close your hearing? or-
We have a motion to close. Is there any public comment?
Do we want to continue through the ZBA?
Do you think
If we go to ZBA, we'll have to advertise and everything else. I don't know what the time
Yeah.
schedule is. We'd have to...
do you know what a approximate time, like 65 days, sticks in my mind to be able to keep this open without acting. So that's 2 months. So we could
we can keep it
continue it
open.
till the first.
Why don't you keep it open and then
All right.
advise the planner as to what you've done,
Yeah, we'll do
so that we can know that you're coming back, and if we need any time extensions, we'll ask you to sign them.
Okay, very good.
And then that'll give you enough time to go before the Board of Appeals to talk to the
We won't have to advertise
town
again.
engineer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The town engineer can answer some different questions for you, and Caleb Moody, the code enforcement officer, could probably answer the frontage thing.
Okay.
Just so you got everything lined up and you don't go through and then find out, oh, I don't.
Right. Right.
So, the town engineer is Bill Coyle,
Bill Coyle.
and he has to approve what?
No, you just talk to him.
We're gonna
Just
talk to him?
run by what you're gonna do and tell
Okay.
him that, you know, that
He
you're gonna...
advises the board.
And if you don't have any questions for him, then don't ask him.
Okay.
In a
Just go-
previous meeting on another matter, it was referenced that he was up there fixing the road from washing out a lot. So alleviate his concern.
Yeah, at the
in that
beginning,
regard, and-
but again, that's why I say that when Auburn comes in to service the road, they're doing 100 feet of Worcester Road,
Worcester's Road.
you know? And that's where a lot of the run out is at the first 100 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I make a
I
motion.
think, that would be my best shot, is to go before the Board of Appeals.
That's what I'm gonna do.
And then if we come back,
Very
We'll
good.
take care of business.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Make a motion
Appreciate
to
it.
continue.
Sign
the-
this.
Continue.
make a motion to continue to
April.
April. First meeting of April.
March 2nd Tuesday in April.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there's a vote. We'll close this hearing. We can leave it open and then just...
Yeah, leave it open and roll.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See Burton Engineering?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's your pen?
Nope. Bruce, is that your pen?
Yes.
No, we did. Oh, we didn't even really...
I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll have Mylar and-
Letters on that page.
We didn't have snow. Okay, we have a 7:30 PM applicant, A&N Realty Trust, a request for site plan approval under section 3.2.7.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for a stone and granite retail display and sales establishment on property located at 872 Southbridge Street in Auburn, map 65, parcel 19. The applicant is here. Would you state your name and...
Sure, absolutely. For the record, my name is Zach Couture with HST Group. We're representing A&N Realty Trust. So just to recap, at our last meeting, we were waiting on Graves, their review. We did receive their review letter, and basically they signed off on everything except there was an issue that came about with the test pits that they originally required that needed to be witnessed. So the test pits at the time weren't witnessed because when they originally requested it, that wasn't stipulated. So the test pits were performed, but just not witnessed by Graves engineers. And the issue that we're running into now is, as you know, we're in the dead of winter. So digging a 10-foot deep hole right now is going to be next to impossible. So
Did you know that the stipulation required them to
no,
be
we
witnessed?
had no idea. And then as we've
Was
gone
that in the bylaw, Adam?
It's not in the bylaws, it's just something we've been having
right, and then
projects done.
and then the initial review, it wasn't mentioned at all, and they kind of did it after the fact. And just to kind of put the board's mind at ease, my office, who did this design, actually did not do the test pits themselves. It was actually done by Clearwater Environmental, which is an outside company that was hired by my client to do. So that was done by a licensed soil evaluator, not done by my office. And once that they actually performed the testing, the design of the detention system, the underground infiltration system, actually changed based off of that design. So because they marked the groundwater at 5 feet below the surface, then we changed our system to a more shallower system, which that has since been reviewed and signed off by Graves. So what we're asking basically of the board is so my client can now get some financing because he needs the approval to do so, if they'd be willing to waive the witnessing part, or if they would condition the witnessing as part of an approval that, you know, he can still go get his financing, and then, you know, once the weather kind of turns favorable to start digging again, then he can have Graves come down and test when they start to, you know, they can actually put a shovel in the ground.
I would not, you know, want to give relief from that witnessing of that test pit.
Okay.
We can't start something like that where we don't do it for you, or we do it for you and we don't do it for someone else.
Right.
That's only my opinion.
Right.
Okay? I'm not sure we can talk about would we want to condition it to where if the test pit was done when the ground wasn't frozen, and then witnessed that, you know, if everything was okay and the numbers turned, the results were favorable, then that would be the conditional, if we could do that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like I said, honestly, we have no issue with the test was being witnessed, obviously. The problem is, you know, we submitted back in I believe it was November or early December, and now, after a couple reviews and a couple meetings, then it was kind of brought up. So.
And we don't doubt, I don't anyways, that whatever it is you said they changed the results of it.
Right.
But, you know, we just have to make sure it's accurate.
Yeah.
Because if anything went wrong, somebody would say, oh, shame on you.
Right.
We didn't have a witness to the test results.
But I would stress that with them doing the construction part, they are responsible, obviously, for the construction and the maintenance of that system. So that solely rides on them. And if there was an issue with the design, that would actually fall on me and the soil evaluator who did the actual testing.
Because it's all wet and back there.
It is wet in the back of the wetlands, right? And that's where
The groundwater's probably not up higher, only because the land's probably 5 feet above the swamp.
it's quite a bit higher than the swamp, because the system is towards more towards Southbridge Street. Because in order for us to get infiltration, get credit for that from the state and the Stormwater Handbook, is we have to maintain 50 feet away from the wetlands, which we are. So in order for us to even get that credit, we have to be so far from the wetlands. So that's why that area was chosen, and that's why the test pits were done.
I don't, we can check with the board to see how the
Right.
members feel about doing a conditional approval that you would
Right.
do the test when weather permitted, and we would give approval, and conditioned on that those results were favorable, and you could put a
Right.
system in, but it would be all up to him to go on that pretense to get financing and everything like that.
Right, because like I said, our concern is that we're more than likely not going to be able to put a shovel in the ground until April, maybe even early May, depending how, the rest of the winter
You just
turns
don't
out.
know with
Right,
where the weather
exactly.
pattern has been.
And where my clients already had to wait for Graves to review this, and we've had to continue a couple times because they weren't kind of on the ball, and then we weren't told about the actual, what the board likes to see until after a couple of reviews. I mean, you can obviously see where my client's getting a little frustrated with the way kind of Graves kind of handled the process. You know what I mean? So that's, normally, if this was the summertime, I'd say, hey, go stick a shovel in the ground and give them test results and have them witness. But, with where we're probably going to have to wait until, potentially later in the spring, maybe early summer to do it, and then he's going to have to try to get financing based off an approval. I mean, this could delay this thing until later in the fall and possibly into the winter, which then,
I mean,
it's
we'll try to
delaying.
address you as soon as you get here and stuff like that.
You know what I mean? And
Is there snow covering the lot right now?
what's that?
Is there snow covering the lot?
No, but even when they did the test pits back in, I believe it was December, they had trouble getting down the 10 feet. And where it's been so cold, and it's now been a couple months later, there's no way they're getting down 10 feet.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of
It's
cold.
not the 10-foot depth, it's the first 3 feet.
Well, it's you have to go 10 feet down to see where the water table comes up.
comes in.
So the deep hole is required to be at least 10 feet unless there's refusal or if there's water already coming into the hole. So that's why I keep saying the 10 feet, because that's standard for a deep hole, which is required to perform this kind of test. So which obviously right now, digging down 10 feet is going to be nearly impossible.
So
Steve?
with conditional approval, nothing can happen until we get those test pits back.
No, it's conditioned such that if his client can go look for his financing and everything else, they can't start any construction,
No
do anything until we see what the results of the test pit were.
Right.
And then we can,
Okay.
Like I said, we have no issue with it, obviously. It's
that
just,
probably won't be, but we need to keep
Yeah.
it
yeah,
so that everything's
right.
apples for apples.
And I guess my recommendation, I know maybe to the planning department, is that they update that bylaw, because I'm assuming this probably isn't the first time that's
Well, it
happened.
should be included in there at some point, I see at this
Right.
time, where it's made known right up front and clear for any applicant to see that the test pit's got to be witnessed.
Right, because they would obviously took care of that in December when they originally did the testing, but it wasn't until later in January where they actually said, oh, wait, now you have to have these witnessed. You know what I mean? So,
To be honest with you, I don't think they ever witnessed a test pit 10 feet deep in December. It's usually done in March, when the wet season, or September, never in December. Because they're gonna look to see where the actual high water table is. You
Well,
design your,
but you don't need to actually physically see the water to determine the water table. The water table is determined by modeling, which occurs in the sand, which that occurs from past rising of the water table within the actual soils itself. You don't actually need to see the water at that point. It's the modeling, the black and the different colored soils that actually indicate where the actual seasonal water table actually is. So whether it's wet season or dry season, the modeling has already occurred within the soil over, however many years the water table has been raising and lower. So whether it was fully wet based on a wet season or dry during the winter, the soils don't lie. The water table is where the water table is. You know what I mean?
Steve?
So I'm ready to vote if...
Nick?
Good.
Scott?
So it wasn't in the bylaws. When were you given notice of the requirement for the witnessing?
It was done after the second review, and in the first review letter, they requested the testing. which we did perform. And then it wasn't until the second review where they reviewed everything that they said, oh, now that the test pits, they have to be witnessed. And it actually doesn't even say they have to be, it just says that they were unwitnessed test pits. That's basically all they said. But when they originally required them and asked for them, there was no stipulation that they actually had to be out there and done it.
And the
Did you ask
soil evaluator certifies?
Yeah, and she's a licensed soil evaluator within the state, so her results are, that's her license on the line, you know what I mean? So, and like I said, it wasn't even done by my company alone, which we could go out and do it, but usually in these situations, we usually hire outside consultants to avoid these kind of issues.
You know, in this case, it's a little, it's that it's so close to that wetlands and near the, like a swamp. Been there for years. It's, you know, if it was out in the middle of the woods someplace, it'd be maybe easier to, but again, still, we just wanted to keep it formal. But it's up to whatever the board decides.
Even though it was unwitnessed, did anybody ask Graves if they would accept her analysis?
What's that, I'm sorry?
Even though it was unwitnessed by Graves Engineering, anybody ask Graves if they would accept her analysis?
So they, according to their letter, which they've reviewed her testing, and they reviewed our drainage based off of her testing, they have no problem with our system, and they actually agree that the system's fine the way it is. It's just that the comment was made that the test pits were unwitnessed. They don't actually have a problem with her results. This has actually been reviewed by Mass DEP as well, and they have no issue with the results. And this has actually already received approval from the Conservation Commission, and Mass DEP has actually signed off on this, which they reviewed these results as well. So that's what I mean. It's
Going on the pretense that they were what they were.
right.
Do you have anything there, Adam?
I just what the Graves' response was. Said soil testing acknowledged data from unwitnessed soil testing performed on November 28th, 2018 was included in the stormwater management report. Based upon the information submitted, the required 2-foot offset to groundwater was satisfied. That's what we picked up, that it was not witnessed. It's been since I started 4 months ago, we've been having projects witnessed by one of our consultants, and that's why we went back and asked that.
As a custom, though, not as a written policy.
Right.
I have a hard time
Because the only
holding
written
applicants.
policy is we can request for these types of things to occur. That's the regulation. There's no bylaws that stipulating that.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to require the witnessing of the test pit?
I'd make a motion to be consistent and require a test pit be witnessed.
Do we have a second?
I would make a motion to approve it as is.
Did we have a second to the first motion, Steve's motion? Yeah, we don't have a second. So do we have a, you want to make a
I'll make a
motion?
motion.
Withdraw your motion.
I'll withdraw that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it with the soil testing that was provided.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Doesn't pass.
I'm going to say no. I don't know if that needs to be on the record. No?
I think I'll make the motion to condition the approval upon a witnessed test pit.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys want to close it or leave that one off the table?
Any other?
For closed Scott's.
You gotta withdraw
I'll
yours.
withdraw my motion.
All those in favor? Withdrawal.
Of the conditional?
No, of Scott's withdrawing. I guess we-
Aye.
Aye.
And, what's your new motion?
The motion was to approve
witness,
it based on the
witnessing of the
condition
test
of the
pit.
witnessing and approval of the soil testing or test pit witnessed by Graves.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Satisfied with-
That should be, that's, I mean, like I said, we have no issue with the requirement. It's just kind of the time frame of all kind of how it happened. My client felt a little sandbagged that it was last minute. They say, oh, well,
You
You
can
know.
have that feeling.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of the way it happened.
It's-
If
but-
it was originally there, it wouldn't have been an issue at all. But
We don't
now
want
it's
to
an issue.
continue something on.
And I
that we don't want to
100%
happen.
agree with your point, and I totally get it. It's just kind of a weird
We
situation
understand,
we're all
we
kind of
think.
thrown in. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get
Can
all
we
that?
close it?
Make a motion. Well, we're continuing, or we close?
Close.
Close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Get all that?
I'll get it on tape later.
You sure? Not sure we get it on tape.
You get that
You
sequence?
can YouTube it.
I'll make it up.
Because I would just get ready to ask you, will you draft it?
Yeah. Can't do that.
They didn't even notice. Like, how do you...
We have a 7:45 PM applicant, Jonathan Poulin, a request for a site plan approval under sections 3.2.6.11 and 5.4 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the operation of a new landscape business garage on property located at 121 South Street, Auburn, map 12, parcel 143. This has been continued from January 22nd, 2019, and it is asked to be continued to our
March 26th.
March 26th meeting.
Give you a quick update. They did have a test pit witnessed by Graves last Monday. They have to put together their stormwater report and such and get that into us, and then it has to be peer reviewed, so that's why we're...
Do you have a motion to continue that public hearing
So-
until March 26th?
I'll make the motion to continue the hearing until March 26th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Okay, next order of business, 33 Sword Street, modification of site plan. Is the applicant present? I think so. All of them. We're ready.
Just for the record, Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering. Just for clarification, this is more of a satisfying one of the requirements of the original site plan approval that we go through engineering and DPW to get their comments addressed and everything like that. We've gone back and forth with them regarding the original comments back from the original site plan approval process, and we have issued a comment response along with the revised plan set, taking in their concerns. We have received their comments back. If the board would like, we can run through the comments. No? Good. Thank you.
I thought you've addressed almost everything.
He did.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're concerned with what is your modification of site plan.
So basically, one of the conditions was the easement, which we have submitted for the Cadence side. We were unable to get the easement on the west side. So,
The easement would come from the same person on both?
No, different party.
So, okay, just wanted to know.
yep, different party. So,
Okay, so how does that leave us?
so we submitted revised turning templates to show backing into the docks off the street, basically. Similar to how it was being done before.
That's what the last two plans are.
Yep.
And they can do it.
Okay, so that's your modification of site plan that what did you say about Jersey barriers, someone?
Tony put the concrete barriers down the property line on
The
the
neighbor
west
did.
side.
On the west side,
Yep.
towards Boy Street,
Yep.
so that,
That was the presumed one that was not an
It was-
issue, and Caden was the...
Well, it was negotiated, and they didn't honor the deal, basically. They walked away from it when they, it was all agreed to, so. So hopefully that's gonna get worked out in court, but that could take a while.
Okay, so you're asking us exactly what? That
To modify, we've met the...
modify the site plan to where, to you having it exist without the easement
Right.
that we thought you were gonna get.
There's no easement on the west side, there is on the east side. And that's recorded, it's all done.
Steve,
I don't have any comments.
Nick,
None.
Scott?
If you can get it on
John?
the west side, it's fine.
I got a couple, just questions, informational questions. We go to sheet 1 of 9.
Sheet number 1 for the existing additions. Yep.
I'm not sure where shows the loading docks. And down the bottom left-hand side of the page.
Yep. Where the 6 loading dock.
There's 12.
Yeah,
On the
12.
left, that's what all those lines are.
Right.
Yep.
But the piece that crosses the property line, that little corner, is that concrete?
That is concrete, yes.
So how do you address that? It's on the other, it's on the west
It's
side.
getting removed.
Is it?
Yep.
And, catch basin 1 on sheet 2. That is on the right-hand side of the page.
Yep.
About halfway down. My curiosity is why it only has a 1-foot sump instead of a 4-foot sump, like the rest of the catch basins.
I think it's because of the existing conditions and the grades, no? You're talking about the first one, right?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Right next to the 3.5-foot wide door.
Yep.
Yeah, 3.5-foot wide.
So we just drive everything down that 3 feet that you're looking for. It's existing and we're replacing it. So we would drive, I'm not sure we have the grades to...
Makes no difference on the pipe grade whether you have a 4-foot sump or a 1-foot
Oh,
sump.
okay, yep.
Pipe grade. It just adds more
Yeah, just
filtration before you get to the, where it daylights.
I don't have an answer for that. I do not know why that's like that. That might be just a typo.
Could be a typo.
Yeah, that might just be a typo. All our details on our plan set dictate a 4-foot sump.
Correct.
So that just might be a typo. And we can address that prior to the structure being physically made.
Okay. Down in the back, you have a set of stairs right where it says 50-foot buffer,
Yes.
and you have 2 dots there. Those bollards?
Yes.
Because they're not labeled on any sheet as bollards.
Okay.
Just 2 dots. And then the proposed saw cut down at the bottom of the page. We go around the frame. You said you're going to reset the frame if you disturb it.
Yeah, so if
Is
it
that
gets...
saw cut actually in the road?
Yes.
Wouldn't you need a road opening permit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and we've gone through and hashed that out with DPW engineering.
Okay, on the existing drain structures and piping to be removed and replaced, a new drainage system in the area, connections from abutting property will be maintained unless from an unauthorized source like a floor drain. How are you going to verify where the drain comes from?
Well, typically you would trace the line back. Ideally, they're going to be in a straight line. If it's going towards the garage door, then we're going to know that it's in the wrong. It's probably not going to be a real source or a proper source, and at that point it'll be addressed. But in our initial review, we haven't found anything that would dictate that any off-locus drainage connections are actually discharging to our system. But
I would suggest you just dye test it and remove all doubt.
yeah.
On the sheet 4 of 9, on the east side of the building, with the 42-inch door and the new 24-foot overhead door, are those concrete bumper pads that come off the building, right next to the building, inside the slanted lines?
Those are aprons, concrete aprons, yep. They're flush.
They're flush with the ground or flush with the building?
Flush with the pavement.
that's all I got, except for on your precast concrete manhole, gas trap manhole. On the right-hand side where the slanted pipe comes in, the gas trap, what type of pipe is that?
That should be the SDR 35.
And you won't have a watertight seal if you do it with hydraulic cement. You're barely going to get one up with the cast iron pipe on the left-hand side of the structure. Hydraulic cement doesn't stick to PVC, HDPE, anything like that. So I don't know if you can get a type of boot on that or something.
Yeah, we can review that with the
precast manufacturer.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with them, and if they find an issue, they're one of the first people to call it out. So if that does become an issue,
who are you going to use?
I'm not sure that we've decided yet.
Yeah.
Because the one on the left-hand side where the 6-inch heavy-duty cast iron coming in, it's an easy corn seal boot to put in. The only thing you can't do is you can't put it through the stairs, like it shows.
Yeah.
The catch basin.
Yeah, detail and stuff like that. But okay, yeah, we'll address that and make sure that's a watertight seal.
And on the bower detail, you're calling for galvanized pipe. And is that going to be painted safety yellow?
Not on the outside. It'll be galvanized.
You're not going to paint your...
Nope.
No one's going to see them.
We do. We do yellow inside. That makes you feel better.
What's that?
We do them yellow inside the building.
Why is it you don't do the yellow outside?
They just get beat up and they look like crap.
'Cause I know at work, we put some yellow caps over them, the caps.
That's why. I don't care who etches it, who preps the galvanized pipe, the paint's always going to peel.
That's why we don't paint them.
Use a piece of ductile iron pipe and the paint doesn't come off.
They have yellow caps you can purchase
yeah.
to put right over.
Plastic ones go right
We
over
did
it.
those ones, yeah.
On your vertical granite curbing, on the top of sheet 9 out of 10. On the precast curbing and the vertical granite curbing, that detail's impossible to do. You can't do that. How are you going to set the granite, hold it in place, or the concrete curb, hold it in place, and then pour concrete? Ain't going to happen. It's a bad detail. That's normally not how it's done.
Yeah.
Normally, you set the curbing on sand, and you pour the concrete in the front below the finished grade of pavement. So you get your 4 inches of pavement.
Yeah.
You don't generally have to pour it in the back. Some people do, but usually you back that up with gravel, and you pour the concrete in the front, and that's what holds the curbing in place.
Yeah, I've also seen it that they lay down a small layer of grout to set the actual granite slab in place, and then they'll fully encase it and get the full form around it then at that point.
But you're not going to put granite curb on 6 inches minimum of concrete. It's going to sink. It'll never hold the grade. Believe me, I said plenty of it in my day. Not happening.
Okay.
Then on your typical trench detail, I believe that's RCP pipe.
Oh, which one? The drain
center of the
pipe?
page, typical drain trench.
Yep.
You showed clean backfill, 4-inch maximum size of stone. That should be 3/4 stone. There's no way you're going to compact that around the pipe properly. The pipe will settle. Should be 6 inches of stone underneath, and at least up to the crown of the pipe. Or compacted sand.
Yep.
But not 4-inch maximum size stone. Someone's going to put a compactor on it and drive it through the pipe, even though it's RCP.
Yep.
And you're going to infrared seal the joints on the pavement. Did you run that by Bill Coyle? I assume that's where we're going to be, where you saw it cut out in the street.
Yeah. He's seen these plans and he's reviewed them in depth, so it's okay with it.
Problem with infrareding blacktop, it makes the existing blacktop brittle. It won't hold So what they're normally doing now is they take a saw cut and then they rubber seal it with a rubber joint sealant after the pavement's done, and that holds up a lot better than the infrared. It's faster and generally cheaper as well. That's all I got for comments.
Is there any public comment?
Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting, here on behalf of Auburn Industrial Group. We had 3 questions. One was snow storage. Snow storage during the site plans.
Did you,
It's on the site plan.
Yes.
it's on the site plan.
It's on the site plans, and is all that snow storage outside the 100-foot buffer zone to wetlands?
Can you answer that?
No, it is not. We will be reviewing the locations of the snow storage. It's going to be temporary in nature. During larger storm events, it's going to be pushed back there, and then after the 24 hours after the storm event, it's going to be then removed physically from the site. But
Can you hear him okay?
I can hear that. Yeah, I'm just stating a concern because the order of conditions does require that no snow storage occurs within the 100-foot buffer zone, and so and the applicant is at the 31 Sword Street is concerned about snow storage being pushed onto their property. So they just want to make sure the planning board is aware of that.
The people you represent say that.
So you're in the back?
In the back area.
They can't push the snow into your property as a fence there. It goes the whole length of the back of the property.
no, he's
on the west side.
He's on the west side.
On the west side.
Oh, okay.
So, you guys have put snow on his property?
We have not. The previous owner may have, but we're the new owner.
Tell me your name again.
Mark Arnold.
Arnold?
Arnold.
Arnold.
So have you seen that happen during
I have not personally seen it, but I've seen photos from 2 storms.
this year?
Yes.
You should have received those in one of your
Yeah,
packets.
that's before you guys owned it.
I believe so.
When did you take ownership?
First week of January.
I hadn't much of a storm since January, nothing more than a couple inches.
Well, you heard what he's talking about,
know
you
what
know,
their
so
concerns are.
we know that the thing is, they have to remove the snow within 24
I
hours.
just want to make sure we just want to make sure the planning board's aware of that,
Yep.
and that planning board makes sure that the plans get changed accordingly, just so it's clear, just for the future record and future owners of the property whenever it transfers again. It's important to have it in the record where snow storage should be occurring.
So the wetlands is behind your property as well, correct?
Correct. So we will have to go back in front of the
I
commission.
meant his property.
Oh,
Who is it you represent?
Auburn Industrial Group, which owns 31 Sword Street.
The direct neighbor to the left, west.
So they're your neighbors?
Correct. So, but the wetlands that's behind that is also behind your property as well, correct?
Correct, and our applicant's concerned about the wetlands being impacted because the applicant has already dealt with wetland impacts and they've spent.
But as far as snow plowing and snow removal, the reverse also goes true. You can't push snow
That is
on his
correct, and that's
property.
what we've been doing.
I don't have any proof of that. I mean,
We're just making sure that we want to make sure that the money that's spent on wetland restoration on our property doesn't get damaged by abutting properties' activities.
And to address the concern over doing further damage to the actual wetland, there will be a fence along the entire property line. So snow is not going to be able to be easily pushed over there unless they take it
towards his side.
Towards his side and or the wetland, which...
Well, I'd like to see everybody be good neighbors, and you gotta get along, you're right. It's better than arguing.
good fences make good neighbors, just ask Robert Frost.
Yes, sir.
Please.
And then just another quick question, which is I believe was answered, was that the applicant has submitted adequate drawings to show that the loading docks can be adequately accessed on their property.
Correct. They showed these 2 sets of plans for truck turning radiuses.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Ken, Steve?
All set. Nope. Just the comments I had, that's it.
So they came before us to request a modification of site plan.
Or more along the lines of a update to the actual, to ensure that we meet the requirements of the original site plan approval for the approval from DPW. So it's not so much more of a modification, but as a update to the plan, documenting our compliance with DPW.
They've met all of the, it's Burton Engineering that did the review. They've answered all their questions,
Nothing you have?
and Burton's acknowledged them as well.
No, you've got to see the DPW town engineer comments, and there's not going to be an easement, so that's not a matter of condition anymore. So
It would be if you get it and you had to come back for me. Right. Do we have a motion to approve their request?
Yeah.
We don't really, we're just giving it to you
something
verbally.
that changes.
Yeah, it's more like a...
And you listen to what John said.
Yes, sir.
He's our valuable engineer.
Yep.
He's gonna be our new peer review specialist.
I know, you just ripped the plan apart.
Oh, you should have been here a couple of months ago if you wanted to see a plan ripped apart.
Remember that.
Well, we appreciate it, because he knows it. He works it all the time.
No, that's always a good thing to have.
I think we do need the modification or approval to give to Caleb, though,
Yeah.
because he wasn't able to issue our building permit.
Yeah, I'll let Caleb know in the morning, or Thursday, I'm out tomorrow.
Some kind of a memo.
I'll let him know.
Yeah.
And you're gonna update the snow?
Yeah.
What was that, Rachel?
Update the snow storage. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's verbal from you to Caleb in the letter.
Yeah,
was
by update
sufficient.
snow
We'll make sure everybody's
They're
informed.
gonna be removing excessive
The self-storage,
stuff.
Procedure, maintenance, operation man. for that.
That's in the,
It's in the
previous one.
it's in the engineering comments already, and they agreed to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's-
okay.
The only thing you may have to say, I would make the motion to approve the plans based on what I said, and that they, that they don't push snow through the fence. That's it.
I'll second.
You're in tight quarters. Things could get touchy, and
Understood.
All those in favor?
Well, do we need to...
no, it's not a hearing.
Not a hearing.
It's just other business. So, I mean, we can take our struggle. Everybody's in favor of
Yeah,
it.
just take a, we got a motion,
I made a
second.
motion, he
so-
seconded it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. We can go ahead and bring the letter.
Talk to everybody.
Good luck. Other business? Tiny home zoning bylaw
You would
petition.
have to speak to either Adam or the town clerk.
Do you have a digital copy?
Yeah, something.
Okay, do you want me to just email you about that to get a copy?
Yeah, was any of it here? Adam, you want to take that from us?
Maybe a
Something
little
here we
bit.
could use?
No.
Greetings. Good evening.
Hello.
So my name is Dominique Cairns.
Bill Cairns.
And we're here after speaking with Caleb Moody and Adam about a proposal to build a tiny home on our property, which we understand is not currently in the bylaws. There's no language of tiny homes in Auburn. So we basically want to change the warrant or change the language to include a provision for a tiny house unit, allowing mobile tiny homes with or without structural attachment to a chassis to be anchored to a monolithic concrete slab pursuant all building codes specified in the bylaws, to serve as primary, secondary, and/or tertiary dwelling units. And to enable this provision, we realize that a couple things might need to take place. First one being that instead of following the 2015 IRC, that we start following the 2018 IRC, and Caleb Moody did suggest that we could just create this language in a bylaw to include a request that we adhere instead to 2018. If we do start following the 2018 IRC, there is already language in Appendix Q about tiny homes, so that language would already be in place. Furthermore, leaving item A, moving on to B, C, and D, we could incorporate modified language into the Auburn bylaws to specify a definition for tiny house units distinct from mobile homes and other residential principal uses, and do away with language prohibiting the use of secondary principal dwelling units, which we realize is a huge restriction currently, prohibiting any secondary primary use on a property or a second building where other people would be living full-time. So that one we can play with a little bit. As you see, I have a little caret indicating that we intend only tiny house dwelling units, so that there isn't an influx of mobile homes setting up on people's properties. That's not our intent. Our intent is, under the full story, that we're looking to make changes so that our family can benefit directly from the changes. My husband's aging grandmother has been in senior living at $9,000
A month.
And we'd like to be able to take her in on our own property and house her so that she is around our children. We have now two sons, and it would be nice to be able to keep the family together, but at an affordable and also an adaptable fashion, because we see tiny homes as not only being more affordable than building an in-law suite on our home, but also very adaptable in that we can have it moved away or sold after we're done using it. We've already been quoted upward of $100,000 for an in-law suite with just the basic amenities, so that's not really the route that we want to take. And after that point, after going forward with that kind of change to our home, we would be forced to rent it out, which we're not really interested in doing. We don't want to become landlords to be able to afford that kind of change to our home. So we want that flexibility, adaptability, and also affordability, and we think that the tiny home might serve as that means. Do you have any other things?
No, that's, about it. The primary use would be for my grandmother, and then when it's finished, haul the thing away, because we don't want to put an addition on the house. The lot's tiny already, and we would have no use for an attached addition once, she passes.
What's the size of your lot now?
8,100 square feet?
Yeah.
Just under a quarter acre.
Right.
So the ones you're proposing, what we see, this brown colored one with the dual axle on it?
Yes. It's not identical to our home, but that's the drawing.
Something similar to that?
Yes. Right.
But it would be, you'd put a skirt around it with lattice work or something like that, and then you could...
I'd find a way to hide the wheels.
Yeah.
Sure.
And have a removable tongue.
Sure, there are ways in which you can put concrete blocks around it to make it look like it's part of a beautiful foundation.
I'm not sure about this, and I may be speaking out of turn, but if you're going to attach that to the concrete slab, if you attach the concrete slab to the house, I think it's considered an addition. And you don't have to go through a bylaw change.
Well,
Check that out.
Anchored.
Right, it's the anchoring that Caleb was concerned about, so...
What like this one that we see in a picture with the tires? That's going to sit on a concrete slab?
Right.
Okay. And where does the storage go? And where does you have to hook?
So we would hook into the existing lines. Electrical sewage, correct, yeah.
Would have it.
Water.
And what is the square footage of this?
Under 400.
Yeah, so, the one that we were proposing is about 18 by 20.
18 by 22.
22, excuse me.
Most are generally under 500 square feet.
What's that?
Most are generally under 500 square feet.
Because I think we allow accessory apartment use, which is maximum of 700 square feet. But I'm not
Right,
positive.
the issue that we had was, according to the 2015 building codes, the area that's considered suitable for living would not be met with that size unit.
Right.
By the time you meet the 2015 codes, it's an addition.
So that's why we want to amend to upgrade to the 2018, because they already have language for homes that are under 400 square feet. And also, after speaking with Caleb, he did say that if someone were to be living in this unit full-time, it would no longer be an ADU or an accessory apartment, because it would be a primary use. and you can't have two primary uses on the same property. Or that was my understanding.
Right, yeah, I don't know.
There would have to be, in my
Principal
book,
uses.
something conditioned such that when the person was
Yeah,
not
it can
there,
become a rental.
it cannot become a rental.
Or it has to be
It has to
removed.
leave. And then some of the things that come
Right.
up is, are they within a size that would not allow, they would be taxed as an addition, whatever the value would be on your property, but they're not of a size that would allow, say, a single woman with two children, because then the
Do
two
the same
children
thing.
kills, you're drawing,
Right.
they're not contributing anything basically in taxes or anything, and it's drawing off of the town,
The in-law suite problem, which is common.
right.
Yeah,
It's drawing on town services and the school system, and it's paying essentially no taxes.
Right.
Correct.
Which is what we were trying to avoid by putting an in-law addition, because after my grandmother passed, we would have no use for the in-law addition and no more money to then change it into something else. So,
Right, but being over 200 square feet, even though it's a quote-unquote tiny house, you don't have to pay tax on that, but once you remove it, the tax goes away.
right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly, right.
And you wouldn't, these would be specifically only for those which would have, like, be able to take it away as a trailer or when the tongue is on it, and because I think...
That's what we wanted.
The tongue.
Caleb was concerned about the anchoring part of it, but I don't see why a trailer couldn't be anchored to a...
You do it all the
Hurricane
time.
straps.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. So,
You'd cover it in where you didn't see the tires, which makes it look a little better, but, and you wouldn't be talking, it'd have to be something on wheels in my book,
Utilities
that you could put under it, not just go in and build like you were building a shed, 400 square feet.
Building code, but
can remove
there's new requirements that they'll have to do
Specific use.
on a pad with anchors on the corners and the hurricane straps. It's affecting other walking parks in the area right now.
There'd have to be those conditions, and then a tax, and then again, that it's, how do we condition it that it's not, like, 'cause there are people that would be
The
all right
accessory dwelling
living.
unit bylaw should mirror that. in
Yeah,
terms of
there's
the
an
requirements.
instructional services is having an internal meeting Friday to discuss this. Myself, Caleb, Darlene, Shannon, to kind of answer some of these questions, to come up with actual bylaw that could pass theoretically town meeting and get past Attorney General. Karen's already have the signatures for the citizens petition, so this is going to happen one way or the other. Really, the Karen's are here to ask you if you want to sponsor the bylaw. It looks better coming from the planning board.
Well, I think it needs to be, too, we've got to specify who's eligible. It should be, like children or, your own
Family
kids or
members.
your family members or something like that. And then it's got to have some checks and balances as to when the people, if they came and they were going to be there for 9 years, then it's 9 years. But if they're gone and it's going to be out of use for that same type of use, then at some point it has to leave.
So it's
I
specified
don't agree with
use.
having it for your children, because what's gonna happen is, people are gonna put in a tiny house for the grandmother, and then the kid that gets out of college, doesn't wanna get a job, and winds up living in the next 20
I
years.
said that when we discussed
I mean, that's what
it.
happens with in-laws, so, like,
Every
You
kid's
don't want
gonna be
that.
living in their
Right.
parents' backyard.
Two
Except
kids.
they would probably want to haul it away and put it on some property up in Vermont.
Yeah.
Not when they're
Where-
listening.
Free food, free showers.
So, just out of curiosity, what is it?
I think
Would
it should be
you tell
limited to the elderly.
Shannon what his opinion of it was?
I said it in front of Shannon because I said the same thing.
Well, let me put it this way: kids aren't buying cars anymore. Right? They're
You're
not
gonna be right there
interested.
to give them a ride.
So this would substitute the car that you would otherwise gift to them. You give them the home, and you say the caveat is you get out. That's your gift.
Well, that
but
would
you
be one of the
leave.
things.
Yeah,
We gotta
Sure.
put in somehow who would be those that would be allowed in it.
Okay.
I think it should be made for the elderly and the disabled, period.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there a preference to update everything to the 2018 IBC code? Or I know eventually we'll probably get there, but
Eventually we'll get there with that code. I don't know what Caleb's thoughts on it out. I don't really want to have an opinion on it.
Yeah, he didn't have an answer. We
Well,
asked him the same.
So if one of the requests is to adopt that now, then we have to specify if we're going to move
That would have
forward.
to be specified, yeah. I don't know the protocol for that. I know in the past you've adopted stretched energy code, which is part of the building code, so that's been done at town meeting. I don't know about the actual building code for the new version for 2018, because the state hasn't adopted it yet.
With the cost of nursing homes and assisted living, I can definitely see the validity of this.
The CMRPC, they put out some stuff too. I remember reading that they were really pushing for this too because of those concerns. And-
Yeah, it's in the housing plan.
Yeah,
Yeah, the nursing homes are like 15 to 17,000 bucks a month.
Right. It's right. And it's Medicare won't.
For 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Right.
mean,
Well, they'll put them in a nursing home.
Until our money's
Yeah,
gone.
15
that's
or
it.
6,
That's
say
it.
they have no money and they go in and get
Yeah.
on Mass Health, they're in there, it's 15 or 16,000 a month.
Yeah.
But there are people who could find somebody to care for them at home for 6,000 a month, but they won't pay towards that to
Right.
save the other 10,000 a
Yeah.
month.
Well, the issue, she just sold her house, so she won't get any funding from anywhere. So until her money is gone, then she switches to Medicare or something else, and then who knows where she goes after that.
If she signs stuff over to you or her immediate sons or daughters, it's 5 years before she goes in a nursing home.
Right.
And
They
you're
can't
covered.
touch it,
Right.
she's covered.
Yeah.
But it's got to be 5
Yeah.
years. But you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
What's hindsight 2020?
Yeah.
It used to be 3 years, and they upped it to 5.
And they're looking to possibly change it to 7.
Unless you have a disabled child, then it can go to the disabled child and you're not taxed.
Right.
So are we looking to agree to sponsor a change?
Sponsor, that's the question today. We're going to have a public hearing on the Drury Square bylaw, proposed bylaw on the 26th. I would recommend if you decide, either way we'll do the public hearing on the 26th for both of them. So if you want to sponsor it,
Then we can say it.
then you have to,
You
but
have
come the
maybe written some
26th,
other
you
stuff
make
up.
whether to recommend approval or not. At that time, we'll have a draft. The Drury Square will have a draft of the tiny
You guys will
home.
work on the
Then you
draft
can
and the-
vote to recommend or not to town meeting. But right now, it's more just a matter, do you want to sponsor it? If you don't, well, that's a lot to
I just ask you a random question. What rooms are inside the, like what type of rooms are in there other than the bedroom inside the tiny home?
Yeah, what's the layout?
So-
You have anything,
Like,
or
is it
maybe
like an
next time,
where it has,
you
like-
bring a footprint with the layout showing the
Sure,
kitchen.
I can do that.
Room, sink, and living room, and bedroom, and...
I have different plans, sort of
You ever seen the show
looked
Tiny
at.
Homes?
Yeah.
I saw it once.
If you turn to the second page of this little packet,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Nantucket already has success in terms of amending its bylaws to include the provision. So I was looking at the definition that they proposed, and it does specify that it has its own sanitary facility, separate sleeping, cooking facilities. So imagine, because she's an elderly woman, it would all be single floor, no loft except for storage. There would be an area for sleeping with a bed, a small kitchenette, and a walk-in type lip tub that would be easily accessible in a...
Like an Airstream type of thing.
Right, so, the basic living necessities, but the beauty is that she would be with her family, and...
Yeah, her daily routine is wake up, bathroom, coffee, and repeat.
too
I mean, she
complicated.
sits there and
Yeah, no, my only thought was, I mean, obviously Nantucket is, I'm guessing a lot more of these would be more seasonal things for just the area, right? And then, just from having elderly grandparents who,
I'm surprised Nantucket allowed it.
who've motored around near me, I was concerned about being able to access the primary house in the event where you had to have things like snowstorms, that sort of thing, and I didn't know if there was any connection to the primary house like you would make.
Yeah, we
Like a
didn't
breeze-
really- we
like
didn't
a-
really think-
like a breezeway or something like that.
Right.
Not just for their access, but also your access to them in the event that something
think
happened
that
like that.
my
Once you create the breezeway, it's an addition.
Yeah,
That's what
right,
I'm saying.
attachment,
But that was my
right,
concern,
right,
just
right.
given that it's a elderly, parent disabled, like you had said, and you just kind of run into some
It's a
of those.
walkway.
Yeah, we have a snow blower.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Are they mostly electric heat?
yes. Yep.
Nantucket single occupant.
What does something like that cost?
60,000, we've seen some quotes for, yeah. I mean, that's the higher end
yeah, I
of
was gonna
it,
say,
for a
that's a nice
nice,
one.
yeah,
That's
that's,
nice.
you know.
I want to move
But
in.
you always move up.
It's 7 months at the nursing home. You might as well just pay it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can sell it, you know, you haul it away, but someone,
Sure.
And that's one that would meet ADA, sort of.
Yeah, that's it.
You could sell it, you could put it on some land up north somewhere as a camp,
right?
Yeah, right.
fishing camp.
Yeah.
So we need the motion to
So not
sponsor?
to sponsor it.
The sponsor.
I'll make a motion to sponsor.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll put this on the agenda for the next meeting, so I should have something a little more
26th.
12th.
12th.
The public hearing will be the 26th. That's be published in the newspaper and such. That's when you can make a vote to recommend approval at the town meeting. The 12th will just be a discussion item. I'll present what we've talked about internally. We've come up with some research and such. And obviously,
And I'll send you-
you're welcome to attend that 12th meeting.
So we'll get some concerns from, you're going to have a meeting, right? Any
Yeah,
concerns that
I'm
were raised?
sure we'll have concerns. Building inspector, I've been doing a lot of reading on it, so to try to answer some of these questions that have come up and put something together that's amenable to everybody. And that'll pass town, if it passes town meeting, they'll meet with Attorney General approval.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
folks.
Next item on the agenda is Drury Square Village District bylaw. The applicant present?
No applicant, just me.
You.
This is the final draft as it stands. It went to town council the other day, yesterday, I don't remember, recently. Yeah, this is what we're going to be presenting, assuming the council doesn't have too many more changes. It's pretty much final. And it's on the agenda tonight because I need you to send it to the Board of Selectmen to be put on the warrant.
Like I said to Adam today, it could take 93 years before you saw two buildings even come into it. Because you've got to have the willingness of the property. You'd have to have somebody that was willing today to do it.
Knock
For
down
no
structure, move it up.
Yeah, move it up, and then, or anybody that owns stuff there to do just what you said. Take it down, move it closer, create those.
For them to find the value in it. I mean, that's I mean, you know, not to speak out of turn, but I mean, it's a bylaw that we worked on for 6-7 months that I worked on, and I mean, I understand the lofty nature of it, for sure. But I guess there is a way to make that section of town really stand out amongst, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever traveled to some of the other towns, you know, I see them up in like Acton, that area, where they do have very similar, the abilities. I know this town has more challenges with the major highways that run through and whatnot.
That's kind of what the killer
And
is.
that's the big challenging piece of it, right? And I mean, Drury Square is incredibly dangerous, you know, and if you try to make it, you know, walking areas, those sort of things, it is more of a culture shift that everyone would have to be, you know, a part of. But I think it is a lofty goal that you can probably strive for at some point as properties change hands and new uses come in that we may not have anticipated in the past.
Right, but if we have it in place, it'd be a lot easier to get things moving.
100%. I think that's the idea, you know, and then
At least it's there, and then somebody could, maybe somebody starts. There's a couple of there's one older house where Brotherton Way is right there that probably would stay, and then there's those other where the old grain store used to be, and coming down towards the fire barn.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff might be more readily, and
There are projects coming down the line soon for that area. There's a TIP project to redo all of Auburn Street from Arlington Way down to the highway. That's going to happen soon. It's going to be, they're going to include decorative lights and such. It's going to be hopefully address some of the safety concerns. We got a grant last month for design guidelines for when these buildings do happen, to develop some guidelines. And there's Shannon's working on a wayfinding project, so there's active stuff happening. But you're right, it will take time for the buildings themselves.
yeah, and just the whole slowing down what you would go through there, and then the idea, you know, my personal opinion, not no one else's, but I always thought, like, if the fire station were ever to be moved out of there, that's a huge piece of property that's overlooking, that would be
2 streets.
extremely valuable, you know, especially when you think about bringing not attractions, but bringing people to that area, whether it be a restaurant, that sort of thing.
Well, we don't have any nice little center like a
No,
lot
we
of
don't,
towns do.
and I think that's the idea.
40 years ago, it was a lot nicer.
No, yeah, it was.
Right.
A lot nicer.
Right.
Before you guys were even born. Where
I mean,
the
that
Horizon
pond-
was a breakfast shop.
Mirror Pond.
The pond was like a Currier and Ives picture on a Sunday in the wintertime with the ice and the
That pond
skate.
used to go all the way through the Auburn
All
Mall.
the way
We used to
through.
feed the ducks at the pond with my grandma when I was a little kid with Bob's mother when I was a little kid.
But not many people know there's actually how big that pond is behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh,
Pretty
it
big.
was,
Pretty big, yeah. And,
it covered the whole site.
yeah. And I think it's one of those things when you think about before Reliant was over there, and they thought about putting a movie theater, that sort of thing. I think that's when this kind of started, because I remember first talking about that
There's
3
supposed to
years
be a
ago.
restaurant going in over there.
Right, that was supposed to happen.
I thought they said they were still gonna do the restaurant.
There's rumors that they're gonna come back with something.
Yeah.
So I don't know what.
I think Reliant's a good thing.
Yeah, of course it was. I mean, you have everyone who works there is going to be able to have foot traffic. You think about all. I talk to the nurses up at the pediatricians, and they tell me all the time it's this way they don't have to leave when they want to go to lunch. It just creates more people in there, and then you may have a business that actually think it's viable to put it in there.
Yeah.
You know.
RCS goes out of business.
Right. Right.
So.
We're looking to vote
Reliant
to
was-
send this to the.
Before it was
selectmen.
Reliant, it was Macy's.
Yeah.
Before it was Macy's, it was Caldors.
Yes.
I was in Caldo's when it was vacant, right after they sold it, right after they sold it to Filings.
I got lost in Caldo's when I was like 7.
So we need a vote
Did
to
they ever
send,
find you?
I'm here.
we need a vote to send this to Board of Selectmen.
I make a motion to send this to the Board of Selectmen.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Steve
it.
made a motion to send it to Board of
I'll
Selectmen.
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Signatures, please, for decisions from last month.
230 Leicester Street. Dorothy Page, that was the one that they're rebuilding with the yellow on it.
Gas lights
Yep.
all the way down.
And Washington Street is the lumber portion.
When I first moved into town over 40 years ago, there weren't all the hotels.
Right.
It's only 9 o'clock.
I mean, there's like 27 banks in Jersey Square.
Well, we get a lot of stuff, so we have one continued.
If you're going from here, on the far corner was Holstrom's Package Store, it's now Rob Roy. On the other corner where Verizon is was a breakfast place, a coffee shop. The opposite corner was
Two of these the
Shannon's Restaurant.
No, one is for the special permit,
And
one's
you
for
had
the
the
site
book-
plan.
the bookstore right next to it.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, it used to be Reels.
Quick shop.
The place.
Pay for a nap.
Oh, where the gas station is?
There's a lot of
Yeah,
potential.
Reel's Quick
Sandwich.
Shop.
Reels Quick Shop. That's what it was. I used to buy my grandma's cigarettes there. That's when you just like kids going around running errands. But
They used to have great sandwiches.
Up at 6.
Awesome
Up
sandwiches.
outside of bed, exercise.
I think that's the idea, that, not to go backwards, but just to make it so that it's more,
Yeah, stay nice.
you could
Aesthetically
improve it,
pleasing
aesthetically
for one.
pleasing.
But
Yeah.
you have to have some fun, it's not a dealer shop.
But no.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember someone was saying up on, I don't remember what it was, the very first like public thing they had on it, it was like, I drive down my bike from Packagug down there, and it was like, and go to that place right next to the post office, I forget the name of it, little market there. But anyway,
Well, Willard?
yeah, and like pick up sandwich, that sort of thing, and I was like, yeah,
Was I here?
drive down from Packagug, you get hit
Was
by
this
3
was this one I
cars.
missed, or was I here?
Yeah,
So I should pass on it?
yeah.
Same thing on this one?
Yeah, I think so. If your name's not there, then,
Yeah, my name was on this
Oh.
one, though.
There's just more room for people to sign now.
yeah.
And then-
I'm gonna track down Wendy.
All right.
Do you need her to sign it?
Yeah.
Have you got enough now?
Especially the special permit, because they only have 6 meetings.
Coming back from New York City last weekend. We stopped in Westport.
Thank you.
Minutes of 1/8 and 1/22.
Really nice.
What's that, Ron?
Minutes of 1/8 and 1/22.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from 1/8 and 1/22 as amended.
Do we have a second?
I'll second them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote. Member town planner updates.
I think I addressed everything unless somebody else has anything.
Steve, anything?
I don't have anything additional.
Nick?
Should I bring up the iPads thing or not? No, I'm good.
We'll bring up the pens.
There
so
is a lot of paper going on this
Trees
week.
we put with this?
Drop it up at the post office.
Clear cutting all these trees up here.
We should
Yeah,
make a
26.
provision to any tree that's cut needs to go to the paper mill and be sourced back.
Yes, I agree.
Don't say anything you want to hear.
I learned all about recycling on Sesame Street the other day with 4-year-olds. So.
I will say one thing, if anybody is around Thursday, there's an MVP workshop about climate change that's happening here at the Selectmen's Room upstairs. It's going to be all day. We got 24 attendees so far. It's kind of helping the town address climate change, so if anybody is around, you're welcome to attend. Just let me know. Not, that's fine too. We're serving food, so you get lunch. If that's any help.
No. Last day of the month, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad call on that one.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.